Hello friends and welcome back to another video. I haven't vlogged in so long. I've done lots of talking videos but no vlogs in quite a while, so I think it's about time that we get back to it. Roxy cried and cried and cried outside. I've tried to film this intro 7 times but I couldn't because there was outside over and over and over again. So here we are with Roxy in room. I guess she's gonna help me sew. It's been a while. Guys, how are you doing? How's everybody doing? Leave me comments down below and let me know how you're doing. I've been talking to some of you, which is great. I need to find more time to go through comments. I read them all, but man, I've been swamped recently, so I haven't been responding and I need to get better at that again. I used to be really good at that. I also got new glasses, which I have to take back tomorrow because, wait, can I make it happen? Oh yeah, you can see it right there. They have this blue tech technology, so that I'm just gonna put on my other glasses. Anyway, and they're old lady glasses. I got my first pair of progressives. Who's excited? I am. And actually I didn't have any problem transferring to them other than they have that blue tech in them, which reflects back blue at you, which is really, really annoying if you're trying to like film a video on Zoom with people, because all people can see is like a giant blue square in your eyes. It's annoying. So anyway, I'm taking those back tomorrow to like get them to strip off the blue tech anti-reflective coating and put on this anti-reflective coating, which is fine. So now that I've gotten used to progressives, these are a little strange. Huh. Oh well. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to wear these while the progressives get fixed. So there we are. Anyway, blah blah blah. Today I'm going to tackle putting together the Spencer pattern for the Hamilton Spencer, and then I'm gonna make a mock-up in this video, which is hopefully gonna go easily and well and whatever, so we will see. As I described in my last video, I think I'm gonna have 3 ongoing projects all at once, which probably means I'm gonna make the mock-up for this Spencer, and then I'm gonna put it down and not come back to it until way later. And then I'm going to try to pattern my corset, which I'm taking a class for, just so that the pattern's like done. And I don't know if I'll make a mock-up or not, but probably. Let's try that, right? Just so I can see and I can have Alexander look at that. So we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna get on to Black Watch Merida because that has a like artificial deadline, which I will try to meet. So yeah, and then I'm gonna come back through and finish the other things at the end of it. So let's see how this goes. So today we are hitting the Costume Industry Coalition's pattern of the Hamilton Spencer. They have released the larger sizes of the Spencer, which I'm very excited about. The original one would have probably fit me except in the arms, and I could have probably adjusted that, but I wanted to see about, you know, a pattern that was just gonna fit me. So I printed out all 80 pages, 80 pages, which I'm not excited about. But this is for such a good cause. So the Costuming Industry Coalition supports all of the costuming industry on Broadway through this tough time, because there's all of these Broadway productions that are shut down, and all the places that make the costumes, make the shoes, make the hats, make the flowers for the costumes, make the lace for the... all of those places are basically shut down or working on a minimal like project level, and they still have to pay rent in New York City. So this project was designed to raise some profits for that cause, and they have, as far as I can tell, they've raised about $50,000 right now. It's really hard to, I'm just calculating how many sales they've had by the cost of the pattern, so that's what I think they've made. But they need to pay Etsy fees and taxes and all that, so this pandemic though, right? So I did in fact get a pattern for free to make this video with, but I've also bought the pattern now twice, because I bought the regular size one in addition to getting it for free, and I bought the plus size one in addition to getting it for free. So I wanted to make the donation to the cause, whether or not that they are letting me have this pattern for free so that I can make a video about it. That's a lot. So this video is not sponsored, but they did give me a pattern for free, which I thought I should disclose to you. The pattern is $22. Anyway, I'm gonna give this guy a go, but first I need to clean off this workspace because I cannot possibly tape together this pattern on this workspace in this condition. So that's what's gonna happen, and it's possible that this kitty might want to go out at some point. We'll see. Ah! My table is naked. Actually, it's not. I could take this off. Actually, I might take that off. I wonder if it would make... Ooh, my room is significantly more echoey now with all of the stuff off the table. I hadn't considered that as a problem, but there we go. Anyway, I think I'm going to take this off, which might be the first time you guys see this table ever on this channel without this thing on it, so that I can have this paper thing go flat, because it's 6 pages wide, I think, so it's going to take up the whole table width. So yeah, I guess here's a montage of some taping. This is actually super useful because I can now show you what I've been talking about. Okay, so when I tell you that this is kitchen cabinets that you can get at IKEA, and you can get any kind of legs you want to put on those. There's 4 of them. There's here, and there, and there, and then there. And then there are 2 kitchen counters here. And they are just butted up against each other. And I could bolt them down, but I haven't. I might. It seems like it's easier if I need to move. But also one thing is like, if you drop something out the back of your drawer, you can just sort of scoot in here and like move it back. Oh, I did drop something. Look. That's funny. I dropped ribbon out the back. Good to know. Anyway, and you can retrieve things if you leave it undone, which I didn't know about and now find very useful. So that is how my table is put together. This does happen from time to time, and I just come and push the thing. So yeah, if you need to make a quick sewing table, this is one way to do it. Okay, so this pattern is massive. My table is super long and it hangs off on both ends. So the register marks on this pattern are actually really awesome, the way that they mark it so that you can definitely match stuff up. They've got stars everywhere, green lines, you know, these marks are very good. I do wish it was like 2 patterns that were smaller. And the reason for that is because even though these register marks are really good, somehow you always get off. Like always, there's something that's off. So by the time, when you have a grid like this, if you have a tiny little bit of offness, like in just like the angle of how you do tape this together, by the time you get to the bottom, that little becomes so yeah, a smaller set of patterns would have been better because I did find myself having some like craziness going on by the time we get to the bottom, but I just sort of lined up the pattern as best as I could without worrying about the grid lines. I worried about the grid lines less, let's put it that way. So here's hoping this works out. I mean, it was never really bad, you know, maybe like 1/8 of an inch, but at the same time, ugh. So Now I have to figure out what pieces I actually need to do a mock-up and cut this out, and also figure out what size I want to cut out. Okay, we have reached a state in which these pieces are necessary for the mock-up and those pieces are not. So I'm going to cut them all out so that they are cut out and ready, and make sure to like tape them down better where the actual because like when you tape it, I mean, you kind of know where the pattern piece is and where it's not, but some of your tape goes on the pattern piece and some obviously doesn't. Like here, you can see there's a piece of tape here and a piece of tape here, but this is the pattern piece. So like, anyway, tape is better. Do that kind of stuff. I'm going to fix this guy up, get it to that state. That is my goal for today, is just to get this cut out. I have never seen a Spencer pattern with this many pieces, but I do have to say, you have to remember, this is a theatrical pattern. This is not a historical pattern. It is very much historically adequate. They did try to follow the lines of like a historically inspired piece of clothing, but it is meant for people who are dancing on stage. So it is using modern seaming methods. It's using like all kinds of things that just like aren't normal for historically accurate things. So be in this because you like Hamilton and because you want to support Broadway and because you like historically adequate things. But don't expect historical accuracy, although parts of it are very, very close. So they do have a lot of pattern pieces. A lot of it is the decoration and the templates that they have for the decoration that you're going to put on it, which is kind of cool because like most places wouldn't give you those. Like they would just be like, figure it out. So I don't know. There's a lot of pattern pieces, but that's actually kind of good in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and that's going to be my goal for tonight. So I'm just going to listen to my audiobook and do that. Okay, it's been a while. I have all my pieces cut out. There's something like 22 pieces or something. So like a lot of pieces are here. Those are all the pieces I do need for a mock-up. These are the pieces I don't need just for a mock-up. And here's a bunch of wrinkly fabric, which I have now washed and now need to iron. So I'm going to go do that. It has occurred to me that I haven't really talked to you beyond getting this pad what this is. So it is a piece of felted wool. It is approximately 1/2 inch thick, and it is the width of my table, which I'm very excited about. And I can iron on this without damaging my table. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just spread this fabric out like this, and then I can iron big, huge swaths of ironing instead of having to try to like, well, manage that mess. And then I'll have a lot of more surface that I can iron on. It's a lot flatter and easier to deal with than an ironing board. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand ironing board shape, but like it's never wide enough for my fabric, and that like weird pointy end means like there's weird parts of the fabric that get, hey, this is better. So we're gonna go with this. Guys, I may never use my ironing board again. Like, I feel some kind of way about that pad. Like, man, oh, it was so good. I put it away. That's another thing I can do. I actually leave it out a lot because I work here also, like when I'm doing computer stuff, and it's nice to have a little padding there. So, but I'm about to pin pattern pieces over onto this material, so I need it to be flatter, so I took it away for right now. But, oh, man, that was good. Like, I think I did the whole thing in like, it took longer because I was like stopping and like talking to people. Like I was dithering, but like it honestly took me like 5 to 7 minutes to do 3 yards. Like, that was amazing, including folding it in half and pressing it shut. Oh my god, it was amazing. Highly recommend. I will put the place that I got it from. This is not an affiliate link at all. It's just if you want to know. I'll put the place that I got it from linked down below for you. Highly recommend. Good stuff. Alright, so now I just need to cut out a bunch of pattern pieces and then sew them together. So I'm gonna get on with that. Okay, I don't really remember who this was, but someone was telling me that their plan was to put the body pieces together and then worry about the sleeves later, especially for mock-up and fitting and stuff. So I think that is the plan I am taking right now. For people who are always asking me what happens to my mock-up fabric once I'm done, this particular one will be turned into the interlining of masks at some point. So that is what happens with that. It is obviously still, you know, wasteful because can't get a mask in like this much space or whatever, but yeah, I'm reusing it in some space. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of masks over here and they need interlining, so that is what this is going to be. It is a completely different day now. I stopped to do some other stuff and then wandered off, and then I started trying to draft my corset pattern and that failed out in a weird way, so that's all documented in another video for you guys though. So I'm now going to cut out the pattern pieces for at least the body portion of this Spencer, and we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I will get these cut out tonight and then maybe start the sewing process, which would be cool. Through the magic of technology, I have for you one set of cut body pieces. Now I'm going to figure out what the instructions say about sewing them together. Alright, so I have fished through the 20 page of instructions for the like 7 instructions I need to make this mock-up. And what I have to say is, after reading the instructions, I'm so glad that I'm just doing a mock-up right now and then going to put this project aside for a while, because damn, there is so much having to do with this. It's crazy. Like, there is so much work in it. Like, it's tailoring for sure. There's like all kinds of stay tape that you need to stitch down. You need to thread mark like every seam, every hem, everything. Like, the decoration, just making the stuff to make the decorations is intense, and then making the decorations is intense. Like, the whole thing. Wow. So I'm super glad that I'm just making a mock-up right now so I can see how this thing fits and goes together, but wow. I'm gonna have to leave some time for this bad boy, because damn. Okay, I have a body together, and that's very exciting. I will say, so far, this fits great. I'm going to show you in the mirror in just a second. I want to preface this with, I do have a modern bra on. The bra is not very padded at all, so that's great. And I do think that this is going to go over a corset, a petticoat, a shift, and a dress. So there's going to be some layers underneath it. So with that being said, it fits really well. Like, I feel like this is the perfectness of it. It comes down to about where I would expect it to, and the belt is going to attach right here. So I have made some crossover on it. I'm sure this is like a thing that you can just adjust to your own delight. I am going to try the collar just to see how that fits on there, and try the belt for sure. And then I need to try the sleeves, but the holes look great. They're coming to the right spot on my t-shirt, which is, you know, I can feel where my armpit is, which is right here. So I feel like this is actually really great, and it's fitting exactly how I would expect it to. That being said, I have some commentary on the pattern instructions already. What I would say is, it's not that you can't do this if you're a beginner. You can. I believe in you. However, it's not what I would suggest to a beginner. This pattern and the instructions were written by people who write for really experienced stitchers, and they did, in fact, totally take that down a notch. So they did make an effort to make sure that this was understandable by people who don't sew for a living. But there is some stuff that I think it does expect you to just know about sewing and be able to interpret. Like, they don't necessarily call out for, you know, sew the back to the side back. They don't say stuff like that. They will say sew the side back seam, which you just have to know means sew the back to the side back. It does seem apparent, but I can also see some new people like tripping up on that. So what I would say is, maybe if you're brand new to sewing and you want this pattern, grab it and then just give it a couple patterns. Like, wait till you're into sewing before you start this. I think once I do decide to do this formally, and I will do this Spencer all the way out once I have time. I unfortunately don't have time until after I get done with Merida, because that one has like a vague deadline, and I know how slow I sew. By the way, that phrase is really hard to say, just so you know. Anyway, yeah, I think I want to make this. I think this fits well. It's super cute. I definitely am gonna put the mock-up sleeves on. I did cut a couple pieces I didn't actually need to, because I don't need the facing right now, and there's a lining piece I don't need that I accidentally cut out. But that's okay. I might be able to use those pieces later, and if not, I'll just use them in masks and whatever. So I'm gonna keep going with this project right now. I just wanted to stop and give like my first impressions on the instructions. Like, I sat there for a minute going, wait a minute, I think they mean this, but I'm not positive now because this isn't the language that I'm used to. So just know that going into it. It's a great pattern so far. It has more detail than you would ever expect in something coming out of a Broadway production house that isn't used to having to give instructions to people to make, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that, you know, Constance, when she's doing sewing, never gets like an instruction manual on how to make stuff. She just gets a bunch of pieces and knows the sewing order. So yeah, this is really detailed. It's a good pattern so far. There's just some little bits that they don't seem to address that you're like, oh, wait a minute, what about this? So I think I'll find out more about that when I do make the whole thing up and put on the proper decoration and stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna keep going. I thought I would also come back and say, also of interest with this project, it's the first time I've sewn a garment on my new machine. Boy howdy, is this better. Like, I love my Bernina. That Bernina sewed like butter. I love it. Although it was starting to get a little noisy. It was like it's starting to show its age, especially with me cramming costume through after costume after costume through it. But man, the sky is really great. I also really enjoy, they call this the throat space, the amount of space that's between the needle and the side here. That's the biggest throat space in the industry. Whew, I love that. I can shove something that has a million ruffles in there because I have all the space. That's fantastic. I know that with my previous machine I did not have that luxury, and it was frequently difficult. But more so when I'm sewing just like normal seams, I can stick my pen holder in there and just like, it's so nice. It's so nice. I still need to play with a bunch of the stitches, the decorative stitches, but I am going to use all of those. So I'm going to be showing you like all about that machine. I'm kind of in love. It's a little bit like driving a spaceship, but like in the best way. So every time I use it, I find something else new about it that I'm really excited. You guys may have noticed that I'm using my HP foot and my HP plate, which is a straight stitch only. So I cannot do zigzag with this plate and foot. I can only go straight to lines, but those lines, because they align the needle with exactly where the bobbin fades out, those lines are perfect stitches, like absolutely perfect stitches. Instead of having your normal plate has like a bunch of entry points in which the bobbin can be taken up by the needle because it zigzags and stuff like that. So those stitches are slightly less perfect. These ones are perfect. So I am super excited about them, and I look at them every now and then. I'm like, yeah, these are really nice. So yeah, people keep asking me what I think about it. I'm into it. Okay, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is for the collar. Quilt the interfacing the lining fabric, cut away the interfacing, flat line the quilted piece to the inside of the collar face, stitch double cording around the outer edge. Cord and lining. Blah, 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 blah. Nowhere in there did it say stitch collar to the Spencer. That is what I mean. Like, we don't need those instructions. Like, honestly, I know the collar's not going to get on there unless I stitch it on there. And now that I've prepped it and it's in this order, I probably need to do that. But I could fully see that if you were pretty new to sewing, you'd be like, all right, I did this, now what? You know? Like that kind of stuff where you're just like, hey, it's missing the one instruction that seems unbelievably simplistic, but like new people, like really new people, would never know that. So that's why I would say maybe get your feet a little bit wet before you attempt this pattern. This pattern is still great so far. I stitched the belt on, although it's just a mock-up, so it's actually like, there's seam allowance and stuff that I probably should cut off to make sure it's the right length and stuff, but honestly, it's great. So I'm gonna keep going. This is just an example of what I mean by that when I say, it is very detailed instructions, except sometimes when something very glaringly obvious isn't actually detailed and you're like, that might be a thing that actually people need if they're really new to this. Okay, we now have a collar on there. You have to imagine it has a lining and a 5/8 inch seam allowance there. So it would be, and same with this belt, would be much more clean when it's done, but this is just for fitting, so I'm feeling like this is fine. The collar fits in nicely, which is great. I've had people tell me things all over the spectrum with this, like it was too short, I think for Marika, I think it was too long for maybe Christine, I'm not sure at first. So the collar sometimes needs a little adjusting, just FYI, but fit on mine just perfect, so that's great. This is telling me that the plus size pattern got some good attention. And now I'm gonna go find out if it got the best attention, because I'm gonna go find out how they did with the sleeves. I think my goal for tonight is just to get the sleeves cut out so that I can maybe sew them up tomorrow. So let's see if we can hit that goal. And we're back, wearing the same sweatshirt. Okay, I have pattern pieces cut out, so 3. There is a regular sleeve with 2 pieces, which I will put together, and then there's this sleeve puff situation, so I have to look into how this goes on. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and put these together and pop them on the Spencer, and then as long as everything fits well, we're gonna call this mock-up good and feel good about moving forward with the Spencer whenever it is that I get to do that. Okay, some interesting things with this sleeve pattern. So this is the undersleeve, this is the oversleeve. As you can see, if I line up the notches here and here, then there's this weird bit that's left over here, and this weird bit that's left over here, which normally I'd be like, okay, well maybe I'm supposed to match the notches and then like squish this into here, you know, sort of like ruffle it in a little bit so that this angle matches this angle, which is my gut reaction about what I should do. However, that is not what's in the instructions. So these sleeves are supposed to be really long. They're Regency sleeves, so they actually come down to like your first knuckle, I think. Like they're supposed to cover part of your hand. So these sleeves are already long, but this adds to it. But then if this were scrunched up, then also should I do it down here? I'm a little confused about that. I opted to not do that because there's 0 things in the instruction that tell you to do that. So they just say sew the seams. That's the entire instruction. So I'm going to sew the seam, despite the fact that I really want this angle right here to match up with this angle right here. Sigh. Alright, I'm gonna go sew the other one. And then you just pop the sleeve cap on over it. I don't even know if I really need to do that. What I know is that this sleeve fits. In fact, it's a little bit, dare I say, baggy. I think once it has a lining in it, and it's a thicker fabric and whatever, it will be significantly less baggy. It's not super baggy, so I'll put it on, you can look at it, we can just discuss this together. Okay, welcome to my pajamas, everyone. Meet Jack Skellington. Okay, so this is it. And actually, I think it's fine. I think it's just about the perfect. The sleeves come down to there. They will be 5/8 of an inch shorter than that, which I think is perfect Regency. Regency has these stupid long sleeves, which are very hard to eat with, by the way. And the sleeve is looking great. I'm going to pop the cap on, and then we can put these into the mock-up, try it all on, make sure everything feels good, but other than the weird I don't know what to do with the extra bits part, like obviously that, I'm just gonna shave that right off. So I don't really know what to do about this part right here, but we'll find out when we insert it in the arm side. Did want to point out here that this does have actually a fairly good glossary here. So if you're unsure of their terms, they do tell you what they're talking about, which I thought was a nice little thing that they added here. Because I was like, shirring, I'm used to that being called a gathering stitch. So I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Because I'm used to the word shirring meaning something else, but this is in fact what they define it as. So I was like, excellent, that's very nice of them. So +1 on the pattern for this little feature. It's time for real talk. You know this happens in every one of my videos. Do you remember how I was super chipper like an hour ago? Because I was like, I'm just gonna slap some sleeves in and everything's gonna be great. That is not what happened. I've been for the last hour wrestling with these sleeves. The notches don't match in any configuration. I am baffled. I've tried both sleeves in both holes, so I'm like, nope, these don't match in any way. I've dissected the instructions. I've done all the things that I can like try to figure out how to do to put these sleeves in. It is not working for me. So I'm gonna do the responsible thing and stop working on this now. And I'm gonna just let it go and turn around and work on it again tomorrow when I have a different perspective, daylight. I don't know what I will have tomorrow, but like something that I don't have right now might let those sleeves slide in. So we're gonna deal with that later. I am gonna put the camera down. I'm gonna go work on a different project for a little while and not think about these sleeves and come back to it later. And this is my advice to you if you hit the wall, is work at the problem until you can't work the problem anymore, and then just put it down and come back to it the next day. Because in my experience, things look better with a little bit of perspective. So I'm just gonna give myself some time to get them. Hi, I'm back. This is officially the longest I've ever spent filming a 1-week vlog, which is now, I think, 3 weeks. And I took a couple days to just like not do sleeve battle. But I'm back, I have an idea of what I'm gonna do, and I thought I would explain to you the problem so you guys can see like what is going on and why I'm so frustrated with it. So let me just show you. Okay, here we have a sleeve pattern. We have a double notch. We have a notch at the top, which I assume is the shoulder. Cool. And then way over here, we have another notch. I am hype because yay, there's notches. Move that aside. Let's look at the other side of this scenario. We have what is a natural shoulder, but is not a notch, just so we're all clear. Sigh. Then very quickly, we have that front notch, which I'm like, okay, but honestly, I'm not gonna gather this much material into this much space in the front of my body. Like, it would literally end up here. And I'm like, that is not a Regency silhouette. Like, their gathering is all at the top, maybe even slightly back on the back of the shoulder, but not here. So I don't understand that notch. Then we have this piece, which is the back, and this has the double notch in it. So that correlates with this guy here. And this natural shoulder is here. So look at this problem. So this makes sense right here, right? This notch versus here does not make sense because I'm not going to put that much gathering in the front, so I don't understand. So then we have a notch here on the undersleeve, which is the bottom piece of the sleeve here, but there is no notch in the pattern. So let me show you what I think I'm going to do. All right, this is when they say that having a dress form helps. So I have Brunhilde here to help me out. I have my Spencer on Brunhilde, and I'm going to use what is, for me, the 18th century method of dealing with sleeves, which I've never actually done before because I've only ever used patterns on them, which is I'm going to try to put the sleeve on the dress form because maybe that will help make it make sense. And I think it will. Like, I've just tried it a couple times. I'm thinking it's looking okay. So let me point this camera at the hole and then we'll talk it through. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is take this undersleeve notch and I'm going to essentially line it up here with this seam. That is the side seam. There's no notch here, but I assume that that's what they meant you to do. This is another thing where if you're a new beginner sewer and you don't know stuff like this, you might spend a really long time looking for another notch and be very disappointed and not be able to find it. Also, if you didn't mark that natural shoulder point, because it's just a mark and it's not a notch, you'd be lost here as well. So I'm gonna come up here and put that guy there. And I'm actually going to try to tuck this under by 5/8 and park it in there, and then somehow not get Brunhilde. So cool. So that's in there really well. So if I were to mark this double notch into the double notch, which is actually, if I push it out, you can see it's straight. It's right here, this guy. This would be taut right here. And then there'd be a lot of extra to gather in through this section, which makes me a bit nervous about that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to pay attention to this guy. Now let's look over on the front side here. We have kind of a similar problem, except backwards. I can probably pin in a bunch of this. But even if I just pin to the seam line of the undersleeve, this notch is no longer anywhere near, like, it is effectively right here. And the notch that I need to match it to is up here. So there's not enough space for me to go if I pin that, if I do pin the underseam notch to the seam, and then I pin this evenly, I can't actually get to here. So essentially I'm going to ignore this front notch. Like, that's kind of just what's happening. And then in the back here, I'm going to also pin in up to maybe here so that it's nice and well lined up. And then if I did that, I would have this big gaping blob right here. That doesn't seem good either. So I'm going to also ignore this back one. So I'm basically using the top mark and the bottom mark, and that's about it. And I'm going to pin this guy up to about here, and then I'm going to start pleating in. And I will do the same on the front here to get a poof at the top here, but not so much on the undersleeve, which is, I think, what we're going for, because this has a sleeve cap, which I have not put on for the purposes of making sure that this thing fits. I'm not going to worry about the sleeve cap, is what I've decided, because I don't fully know that when I make this, I want the sleeve cap, and even if I do, it fits right over this. So I'm checking this for fit today, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. But if you have some poof up here, it will help hold that sleeve cap out. me playing with it like this, I can determine that this is like the course of action that I do want to take. So what I'm going to go do is go run some gathering stitches along this so that I can gather it in to actually get it sewn on. I'm also going to take it off this form and then come back, pin it back onto this form just on the under side, sew that in, gather up the top, get it all lined up, and then sew it in. So I'm ignoring basically 2 sets of notches because they're just not working for me, and they're not something that I think is going to work out. Like, the physics of them doesn't work, and that happens on patterns sometimes, and especially a pattern like this where the person who is making this pattern is making it for Broadway dancers and is used to just cutting things and then having a professional sewist come along, and seamstress, whatever you want to call them, could be a seamster, I don't know what that, sewist. So come along and just sew it together and just know what to do. But if you're trying to make a pattern that's for commercial use, essentially, that becomes a bit rougher. So this does happen from time to time. Like, there are frequent times when I have a fight with the sleeve because even someone who makes like commercial patterns doesn't get the notches right in the sleeves. So I am normally a person that's like, you do not need a dress form in order to sew, and I still don't think you need one, but it would be very helpful if you had a body right now of any kind. So you could even kind of use a pillow to do this. Okay, so we have some shirring stitches in, and I am going to pull these up until essentially I can make, if I was holding it straight, this spot be even with here, which shouldn't be too much, and then the back gets a bit more than that, so I'm just going to like start moving on up to these sides. Although, gotta make sure it's like even-ish, vaguely even. And as you push these along, they sort of like evaporate from existence. So do be prepared for that to go down. Like, they look real tight right here, but as you push them out, obviously they're like waves, so they kind of do spread out. But they don't stay as tight unless you hold them while you pull them, like I'm doing right now. And then just keep checking, and it is actually there at this point-ish. I could maybe use a little bit more. And then I'm going to pin in the front part once we get this hooked up. Yeah, this looks good. I'm just going to pin that down, even though I'm pinning it sort of inside out. Oh wait, I might give a little bit more. Is that right? Yeah, a little bit more. So just keep checking. And then I guess I'll try to flip it. It's going to be harder to gather the inside if I do that, but I'll show you. So the front notch there is not lined up at all. But this one right here is going to land exactly perfectly there, so that's good. Hopefully this is all making sense to you guys, and you're understanding what the heck's going on, because I don't know how else to explain this. Let me jab Brunhilde in the neck, and just fold this over a little bit. I'm gonna pin it just for like effect. There, I want to pin just for effect right now, and then come back through afterwards and move all the pins like sort of properly for me to be able to sew with. But this should let you know what it actually looks like, which is my goal here, to help you guys understand what the heck is going on. And I am just pinning into her at this point. Okay, so then we have to get all of this fabric here into this curve. So we know that some of it isn't going to go into the curve already, right? Because we can see that it starts here, the gathering. So you can just go ahead and pin that down. I did sew the underarms already, so that's cool. And I've already abandoned the concept of this back double notch that just like does not even go together. So I just have to get basically this much into here, which shouldn't be too bad. So ooching that up. There we go, and that will fit essentially perfectly. Let me just tuck this down, pin her in so you can see what it looks like, but it's a very small little poof there, so it's not too bad. But there is the completed sleeve head, as you can see. So I'm just gonna take this off and go ahead and stitch it down. A little tip that someone just let me know about was when I do this for reals, I'm going to hand stitch this in. You can go ahead and hand stitch it in and then machine over it if you feel like you need to, but hand stitching your sleeves in apparently takes a lot of the stress out of setting sleeves. So for those of you who have stress with the sewing machine portion of that, feel free to just hand stitch it with a back stitch. So that's probably what I'm going to do, because when I make the real one. For this right here, I actually really need to learn how to sew on my new sewing machine because I have that flat table on it, so I don't have an armhole like hole. My old machine would come out and you could just set the armhole over that, but I don't have that luxury anymore, so I have to learn how to sew a round thing on a flat surface. So I am going to use this as practice to do that, so that's what's happening right now. Victory is mine! I won sleeve battle. So it's all in, it looks good, it looks proper, it looks right. So I'm hype on this. I'm gonna put it on for you in just a minute. I am not going to sew the other sleeve in, and the reason why is I think I will want to try sewing the other one in when I decide if I want to make the other puff. Like, I want to leave myself the option to have a puff if I want to. I kind of think I might do it. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't love, and like, I don't love sleeves in general, and I don't like the idea of even making them even bigger, especially with those weird little flowers that look like pink hearts to me. So I'm not in love with that part of the design, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not, but I want to leave myself the option to try it and to like learn how to put the puff on top of the sleeve and set the sleeve together when I do that. So I'm going to leave myself a spot to try it and to leave myself the option to do that later when I decide if I want to do it. A lot of that is going to have to do with how much time and effort I want to put into the decoration of that jacket. I want to try that decoration and see if it looks like I think I want it, and if it's fine, then I'll want to do that, and then I'll want to put the puff on. But if it ends up that I hate the way that looks on me or whatever, then I will not want to spend that much time making all of those flower thing. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. This flower decoration is what I'm talking about. These petal situations. I'm not sure how I feel about them. So and they look like they're a lot of work because they take a lot of effort to put together and trim to make and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and maybe try one, see how it goes. If I do decide I want to do it, then I want to leave myself the option to try putting the cap sleeve on here and see how that is. So I'm just gonna leave that how it is right now. Let me try this on for you. Again, we're over a t-shirt and a modern bra here, so the ladies will be slightly higher. You also have to give account when looking at this right now for all the seam allowance that will be taken up when I line this and put stuff like that in. So like this collar will be 5/8 of an inch lower, stuff like that. So overall, I think it fits great. Let me show you the back. The back fits nicely. The collar sits right at the nape of my neck, which is great. I'm into that. Here's the sleeve. It hangs very nicely and it's not pulling in any way, which is really nice. It does come down to my fingertips, as you can see down here, which is not something I love about Regency because it makes it, you feel like a small child with a sweatshirt that is like slightly too big, but it is cute. And it kind of goes with my 90s aesthetic of having, like, if I could just punch a thumb hole in there, I'd be really hype. Anyway, I feel like it fits really good. It's tight enough to be flattering, but loose enough to be very comfortable. It doesn't seem to be pulling anywhere. I'm into it. So I think overall this pattern is really great given what it is. Like, for a Broadway production pattern that didn't have modern sewists who are just costumers like testing that. You know, I think they just had professional seamstresses testing it. So I think they did a really good job of getting this together. It's a great fundraiser. I will leave links down below to it if you'd like to buy this pattern. For a plus size pattern, this is the smallest one of the plus size patterns. So if you're larger than I am, it's a good pattern to give a go to, and I really do commend them for like thinking about that and making sure that it was a thing that they were going to do and that they offered it up to people to try. So that's fantastic. I do think, like I said earlier, it's probably not a beginner, like a first time pattern situation, but I've also just told you all the things about it that are complicated, so maybe seeing this video will make it a beginner pattern for you. When I make it up for reals, I'm sure it will take me 4 months, and I'm sure I will have 4 months worth of vlogs showing you that entire process. So, you know, at that point you might be able to like just follow along and do it then. I'm not planning on doing a sew along or anything, but like that might help you. So I definitely think it's worth making. I think it's a unbelievably good fundraiser and a cool concept thing to do, and you get a little piece of Hamilton, so that's fun. Okay, I'm gonna leave this vlog here because I feel like I've been rattling on forever and ever and ever. I feel like also I didn't get to do like chatty chats in this video, which is kind of like unusual for me, but I was pretty focused on getting this done despite the fact that this video took me like 3 weeks to make. I just kept getting sidetracked with other things, and I was patterning a corset, which I do have a video on. Unfortunately, the corset pattern itself is like the IP of the person who's doing this class, so intellectual property for people who just, sorry, I'm using terms. So I can't really just like show you the whole corset pattern because then you could just take it, and you know, it's proprietary. He took the pattern, so it's his business whether or not he wants to like sell it, or he is teaching the class again. So I've been making, anyway, I've been making that in between making this whole thing, and I've also been doing a lot of my side gig lately. That's been taking up a lot of my time, so I'm sorry that the channel has been kind of quiet except for 20 questions. I hope you guys are enjoying those. But it should pick up here soon because I need to start Merida like last week. So you should be seeing me crank out stuff for that really soon. I'm trying to debate on Merida. So I have this black watch tartan, which is beautiful. And part of me wants to get a dark forest green to make the skirt out of, but part of me is also like, but you have this black, so you could just start that now. So I'm trying to decide what I want to do about that, because I'm trying to also sew out of my stash as much as possible. This black is really useful, so I don't think I'm gonna have a problem using that up. So I might get some green. I also might get blue because Merida wears both green and blue a lot. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I want to do. I'm going to think about that for one more day, and then I'm just going to make a decision. I can definitely start other pieces of this. I do need to find out how much of this I have. I think this is 10 yards. It could be as much as 12. So anyway, you should see a ramp up starting very soon of me cranking stuff out. I just kind of got stuck, and also took January a little bit easy because December was rough, and I put out a lot of videos, and none of them were sewing videos, which is weird, so I kind of lost my sojo while I was at it, so yeah. Also, I had just finished the Hogwarts Express dress, and when I get done with a massive project like that, I need a minute, like I need a break from sewing, so, and I still have 1 million masks in production that I need to work on also. Ugh. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video here. I miss you guys terribly. Leave me comments down below. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you've tried the Hamilton, if you're gonna try the Hamilton, what you think about this. I'm glad that this fits. I'm glad that it works on a plus size body. So that's really all I wanted to do and test out and see. So I feel like mission accomplished. I actually, look, I can give you guys a little serotonin burst with me. So anyway, yeah, leave me comments down below. Let me know how you're doing, what you're working on, all that kind of stuff, and what you're listening to. I am currently listening to Divergent, which I never thought I would be listening to, but I kind of got ahead of the game for Ladies Who Genre. And Morgan was doing a lot of editing, so she couldn't listen to her headphones to listen to books. So I decided to slide my own private book in there while I can. So we are recording a new episode next week though, so that should be exciting. And I guess I will see you guys later. Clearly I want to be chatty. That is what we're getting out of this. All right, I'll see you guys later. Love you guys. Bye.